She didn't look dangerous. Just out of place to 47 minutes later. The airline would regret everything, especially after losing a controlling stake in the fastest-growing terminal expansion in North America. Raina Miles wasn't expecting applause. Just a window seat and some quiet that she'd flown this route at least 15 times before. Portland to Boston. A straight shot across the country. No drama. No turbulence. Just sky. At 46, Raina had mastered the art of blending in. Slim cut blazer, navy slacks, no labels, no makeup beyond the essentials. No phone calls, no selfies. She preferred her world orderly, quiet, controlled. Her boarding pass read 3C, first class. Window seat, always window. Fewer distractions when reading metrics, running simulations in her head, planning contingencies. Raina slid her slim tablet under her arm, gave a faint smile to the passenger in 3D, and took her seat. That was supposed to be it that a flight attendant, young, smile freshly trained, but slightly off, approached like she was following a script she didn't believe in. "Excuse me," she said tightly. "Could I see your boarding pass again?" Raina raised an eyebrow, then handed it over. The woman stared at it like it was a puzzle that kept changing shape. "Are you sure this is your seat?" "I'm in 3C," Raina replied evenly. "Just as it says." The attendant nodded, but it was the kind of nod people give when they still don't believe you. She walked away, no apology, no clarification. Raina felt it then. This shift, the way the air goes flat when people around you decide something unspoken. That invisible tension. A businessman 2 rows back adjusted his briefcase too loudly. Someone fake coughed. She said nothing, eyes back on her tablet. Tomorrow's meeting at 8 a.m. was too important. Months of quiet maneuvering had brought them here. An airport infrastructure consortium hungry to acquire a seemingly minor holding company. What they didn't know was that Eastport Holdings wasn't minor, and it wasn't random. Raina was its sole owner, and the silent architect behind Hawthorne Terminal, a $580 million international expansion project scheduled to break ground in 90 days. The acquisition team didn't even know the woman in 3C was the reason they'd been chasing the deal. But sometimes, turbulence hits long before the plane lifts off. 15 minutes tick by. Business travelers filed in. Familiar faces, vaguely recognized from trade expos and old articles. Raina focused on her screen. Then 2 men boarded. Not flight crew, not TSA, airport security. Dark navy uniforms. Radios. Expressionless. One was taller, maybe late 40s. The other younger, looked like he hated confrontation, but did it anyway. "Ma'am." "Raina Miles." She glanced up. "Yes." "Could you step off the aircraft with us for a moment?" The entire front cabin hushed. "Why?" she asked calmly, sliding her tablet into her tote. "There's a seat discrepancy. We just need to confirm some information. I've shown my boarding pass. Twice. We understand, but we'd appreciate your cooperation." Raina studied them for a moment, then rose. Every eye followed her. Her seatmate, in 3D, glanced away, pretending this wasn't happening. No one said a word, no questions, no support. She walked down the aisle, heart steady but sharp, like it used to be when she'd walk into rooms full of men who didn't think the black woman at the table was the one about to buy their patents. Out in the jet bridge, the taller officer offered a polite nod. "We've confirmed everything. Your boarding pass is valid." "There was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," Raina repeated. "Yes, ma'am. Seems the flight attendant assumed." "Never mind. We apologize." No details. No real answers. Just vagueness and procedure. They offered to reboard her. She declined. "I'll take the next flight," she said, her tone clean and surgical. "Send me the rebooking details." No anger. No tears. Just precision. She returned to the terminal, found gate 12, and sat with the grace of someone used to disappointment and long games. She didn't check her phone, didn't tweet, didn't rant. She opened a folder on her tablet labeled Plan B, Activation. At 5:52 p.m., a junior gate agent approached nervous. "Miss Miles, we've rebooked you on the 6:30 flight. Still first class. We're so sorry about what happened earlier." "Do you know what actually happened?" Raina asked. Duddy blinked. I think there was a seat mix-up." She stared at him until he looked down. "Thanks," she said. He left. She reopened her notes. Slides outlining traffic projections, lease agreements, investment breakdowns. The board of Redwood Aero Group had no idea the holding company they were set to absorb held the rights to Terminal G, a deal that would control all cargo routing east of Chicago by 2027. They didn't know she owned it. They thought she was just another mid-level advisor in the room. That was about to change. Raina boarded the evening flight. Same seat, new crew. This time, no drama. No apologies either. When the plane took off, she stared out into the darkness. No stars, no moon, just sky. It didn't matter by the time she landed, they would feel the fallout. She wasn't heading to negotiate anymore. She was heading to burn it all down. Raina Cole didn't immediately react. Instead, she sat back, observing the media storm unfolding around her. She was barefoot in her office, sipping from a chipped mug that read, "Still I rise." It was the only statement she felt needed to be made at that moment. As the headlines began to pile up like a slow-moving avalanche, she watched without haste. Videos flooded every social media feed, clips of the incident on the plane playing on repeat. Comment sections quickly became battlegrounds, filled with polarized opinions. But it wasn't just about the incident anymore. It was about something bigger. Black business leaders, civil rights attorneys, and former colleagues from all over the country began to comment. Some shared their own experiences of being doubted, questioned, or treated as if they didn't belong in spaces they had earned access to. Others supported Raina for doing what so many others had felt but had been unable to say. They were all paying attention now, but none of them were surprised. It was a familiar story to them, an all-too-common experience to be why the second day, Avalon stock had plummeted 7%. By the third day, the airline issued a vague apology, stating they were reviewing their protocols and doing their best to learn from the situation. In the wake of the viral incident, they scrambled to manage their public image, releasing carefully crafted statements to save face. The truth, however, was clear to everyone. Raina had single-handedly shifted the narrative in a way that they could never have anticipated. But none of this mattered to Raina. She wasn't in it for revenge. She wasn't in it to play by anyone's rules, but her own. What happened on that plane was the tipping point. It was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment when everything changed. This wasn't just about a canceled deal or a tarnished company reputation. This was about dignity, respect, and the relentless battle against stereotypes and biases that had plagued her and others for years. She had let the world digest the news for a couple of days. The media frenzy had begun to die down, but she knew it was time to make her voice heard, to put everything into perspective. Raina opened her email, clicked on the compose button, and began typing that IT wasn't a press release. It wasn't a scripted statement carefully crafted by a public relations team. No, it was raw, personal, and it was meant for the world to hear. She wasn't addressing a corporation. She wasn't addressing the airline or Avalon Dynamics. She was addressing anyone who would listen. She was addressing those who had ever been made to feel like they didn't belong. She was addressing every person who had been doubted, judged, or erased from a space simply because of their appearance or their background. Statement from Raina Cole. I was escorted off a plane because someone didn't think I belonged in the seat I paid for. Not because of a threat. Not because of policy. Because of perception. You saw a black woman in first class and decided that was suspicious. You didn't ask for my name. You didn't check your bias. You didn't speak. You just watched. I wasn't loud. I didn't resist. I didn't cry. I got off the plane and hours later, I ended a $600 million deal. That wasn't revenge. That was clarity. This isn't about business. This is about dignity, and you don't get to buy mine. SB. She hit send and shared the statement across her social media channels. Within hours, it had gone viral. The message was quoted by Fortune, CNN, The Verge, and TechCrunch. People from all walks of life reposted her statement, sharing their own stories of times they had been questioned or doubted, especially in professional spaces they had worked hard to gain access to. Raina's words had struck a chord with many, resonating with those who had faced similar discrimination or bias. Avalon Dynamics never recovered from the fallout. The $600 million deal that had been on the table evaporated before their eyes. Investors started asking tougher questions, demanding answers about how the company had handled the situation. It was becoming increasingly clear that the damage to Avalon's reputation was irreparable. They hadn't just lost the deal, they had lost credibility. The board began to reshuffle. hoping to salvage whatever they could of the company's future. But none of this mattered to Raina. She wasn't concerned with Avalon's fate. That Raina's focus was never about the company, the deal, or the apology they issued. It was about making a statement, about standing up for her dignity, and reminding the world that she was more than what they perceived her to be. She never mentioned the airline's name. She didn't give the security guards' faces any attention. She didn't need to. The message she sent was crystal clear. She reminded the world of something they too often forgot. You can't measure a person's worth based on preconceived notions or stereotypes. Just because someone doesn't make noise when you disrespect them doesn't mean they won't make a decision that changes everything. The next time you see someone in a space you didn't expect, someone who doesn't fit the mold you've created for that space, think twice before assuming they're lost. They might just be the reason your company exists or doesn't. They might be the person who changes everything with a simple, quiet decision. You don't know their story. You don't know their value. And you certainly don't get to decide it for them. What does your silence cost? Speak up. Be better. Respect people, especially when no one's watching. This isn't just about business. It's about the kind of world we choose to build, one where everyone has a seat at the table, no matter who they are or what they look like. It's about dignity. It's about respect. And it's about time we all started giving it, no matter the cost.